So a very good morning to all of you, my dear students. Welcome back to the class once again. So we have seen the revolt has started at that place, Kangar Forest. They have been beaten. The revolters have been beaten, and even they were killed. Also, they were surrounded and they were fired on by the Britishers. The troops of the British. Was the revolt at Bastar in 1910 ended there? That is the question. So the story of the forest and the people of Bastar does not end there because it is like a fire. It reaches to each and everyone in a flash because the fire doesn't stop and it starts reaching and expanding. So the story of the forest and the people of Bastar also expanded after independence. Even after independence, the same practice of keeping people out of the forest and reserving them of industrial use continued by the Indians as well. And I'm not saying this. This is your NCRT textbook is saying that even after independence, the Indians, now who were there after independence? The Indian government. So the Indian government also reserved those forests for industrial use. The Indian government also kept people out of the forest and reserved them for the industrial use. So even after independence, that continued in the 1970s. You can see 1970s, that is after independence. The World Bank proposed that 4,600 hectares, that is around 46 kilometers of natural salt forest should be replaced by tropical pine forest. Tropical pine trees, or you can say, to provide pulp for the paper industries. So this was the suggestion or proposal from the World Bank in 1970s to Indian government, that they should plant tropical pine, so that they can get what? They can get paper from these particular trees. Let me show you tropical pine trees. This one. So this is a tree which can provide us a lot of paper. So that was the suggestion in 1970s from the World Bank. It was only after protest by the local environmentalists the project was stopped. Even you can see there was protest by the Indian after independence, and who were protesting? The people who were environmentalists, those who were looking and taking care of the environment, those who knows about environment. They are known as those who are expert in environment management. They are environmentalists. So they protested that this should be stopped, this project, by cutting down the salt forest and replacing them with tropical pine. So this project was stopped after the protest. Let us move to our next topic. That is, now we are going to learn. We have learned about Chhattisgarh, about India. Now we will learn about Java. That is forest transformations that took place in Java as well. Java. So Java is also a computer language. I know it is also a programming language in computer, but Java is not a language over here. It is an island in Indonesia. Java is the name of an island. That is a very famous island, and that island is very well known for producing rice. Once it was covered mostly with forest. So it is written clearly that once it was covered with forest, that island was covered with forest. The colonial power in Indonesia, so even like Indonesia were also colonized by some people, some other country. And who were they? They were the Dutch, that is the people of Netherlands. So the people of Netherlands, or the government of Netherlands had captured Indonesia like the Britishers had captured India. So the same thing is here, but the people are different. The Dutch have colonized Indonesia, and while Britishers colonized India. So Java, that place in Indonesia, is where the Dutch started forest management. So like we have seen that in Kangar forest, they have started implementing forest act, forest management. So in Java also, the Dutch government started forest management like India. Like the British, they also wanted timber from Java, that particular place, to build their ships. So the requirement is also matching. The Britishers also wanted timber from India so that they can build their ships, so that they can construct the railway, construct the construct, manufacture the sleepers for laying down the tracks for the railways. So that is the same thing over here. The Dutch also wanted timber from Java, that Indonesia. And in 1600, the population of Java was an estimated 3.4 million only. That is nothing. That is 34 lakh was the population of Java. There were many villages in the fertile plains, but there were also communities living in the mountains, and they were also practicing shifting cultivation like the Indians were also doing. And Britishers got it wrong, and the Britishers banned that shifting cultivation. So even in Java also you can see people were living in plains also, and even people were living, many communities were living in the mountains, and they were practicing shifting cultivation. So many things are matching over here. Let us see about the woodcutters of Java, those who were cutting down the wood. It's rotating. The Kalangs of Java. Now it is the name of the community, those who started, and those who were very skilled forest cutters. Means they were very skilled in cutting down the trees, and even they were very skilled in shifting cultivation also. So these are the two basic criteria, or you can say basic characteristic of this type people, the people who were living in the Kalangs of Java. So the Kalangs is the name of the community who were very skilled forest cutters. Try to remember the name of the Kalangs of Java. That a question may be there in your exam, that who were very skilled forest cutters in Java. So the Kalangs were so valuable, they were so valuable that in 1755, you can see, that is around 100 years back. We are 100 years back. We are talking from 1910. So they were so valuable that in 1755, when the Mataram kingdom of Java split, when there was a split different between different communities, the 600 Kalang families, these specialized families, were equally divided between the two kingdoms. So the Mataram kingdom was divided into two different separate parts, and they all have taken these 6,000 Kalang families equally, like a property. They have taken these Kalang families like the property. People used to share the property. They shared the families of the Kalang families equally, because they were so valuable. They were so important for these people, because they were quite skilled forest cutters and shifting cultivators, which is really good for the kingdom, whoever is ruling. Without their expertise, now let us see, it would have been difficult to harvest teak and for the kings to build their palaces. This was the need. That's why they were very valuable. They were very skilled person. They were quite skilled. Oh my God, wait. Yes, they were quite skilled, because yes, if you can grow the teak trees, then who will cut down those? So they are the people who are very expert in this type of work, and even those teak were also needed for the king, by the king also, to build their palaces. That's why they have divided these families also among them. They have distributed these families also. So when the Dutch began to gain control over the forest in the 18th century, they tried to make the Kalangs work under them. They were also knowing about the Kalang. They also came to know about the Kalangs of Java, the Dutch people, when they colonized this Indonesia. So they also tried to make these people of Kalang community to work for them. Let us see whether they worked for the Dutch people or not. In 1770, that is after these 15 years, the Kalangs resisted by attacking a Dutch fort at Zona. So the Kalang, the community of Kalang, they revolted. They protested against this, that they are not going to work for the Dutch. Let me show you. Let me show you that. Wait. Uh, what is that? Dutch fort of Jonah. They attacked this Dutch. This Kalang people, the Kalang community, they attacked this particular. At that time, it was a fort. I got the picture from internet, and that was the picture available at that time in this in the internet. You might also search for that. So the Kalangs resisted by attacking a Dutch fort at Jonah. They first attacked that particular fort at Jonah, but the uprising, but their protest was stopped, was finished off with the help of army. So that was really unfortunate for them. Many of them might have been killed also. Many of them might have lost their lives also. That was really shocking, and that is really unfortunate for them. So here is my dear students, forest rules in Java. Like the Britishers have made some rules in India, Forest Act. So let us go through the rules which have been made in Java by those Dutch people. So in the 19th century, when it became very important to control the territories and not just people, so they are controlling not the people, even they are controlling the territory, means that particular whole area where they are capturing, where they are colonizing. So the Dutch enacted and implemented forest laws in Java, which are as under. Let us see what are the laws. Restricted villagers access to forest. Now villagers will not go to the forest, they restricted them. The rules are same like Indian also. They were reserved forest for Indians. Now wood could only be cut for specified purposes, for special purposes, like making river boats or constructing houses, and only from a specific forest under close supervision. So the Dutch will give you permission, then only you can cut down the trees for a special purpose only, like you want to build or construct your house, if you want to make a boat for the river, and that will be done only under close supervision of the Dutch officers or the Dutch troops. Villagers were punished for these things. Let us see what. For grazing cattle in young stands in those places which are very important for these Dutch people, where there are grasses. So like in India, grazing was banned. Even you can see in Java also grazing was banned. Villagers were also punished for transporting, for carrying the wood without a permission. If they will find someone without a permission carrying the wood, they will be punished. Even they were punished for traveling on forest roads, with horse carts or cattle. Means they can't travel with horse carts or cattle because it will destroy the forest according to them. So traveling on forest road with these carts or the cattle, again you will be punished for that. Let us see next what led to the establishment of forest rules in Java. How these forest rules were established or implemented in Java. As in India, the need to manage forests for shipbuilding and railways led to the introduction of Forest Act. Yes, that was the need to maintain the forest. The Britishers thought of implementing, because they were feared that like their oak forest in England, the Indian forest will also vanish, will also finish after some times, and that fear brought them in thinking that let us start managing the forest. That's why they have called one person from Germany. He was an expert in forest activities, in forest management. And what was the name of the person? Can anyone tell me over here? So in 1882, 280,000 sleepers were exported from Java all alone to Dutch, to Netherlands, to the Kingdom of Netherlands. So they all started cutting down the forest. The Dutch people who colonized in Indonesia, they also started cutting down the forest, making the sleepers and transporting them to Java all alone. So they also thought that the forest of this Java will also vanish some after some time, and that's why they implemented that forest rule on the people of Java. All this required labor to cut these trees, and to make 2000 2,80,000 sleepers. They require a lot of persons to work for them, and to cut down the forest and convert those trees, into sleepers. They need a lot of person, a lot of labor to cut the trees, to transport the log and prepare the sleepers, and for this. So the Dutch first imposed rents on land being cultivated in the forest. So whatever the land was available in the forest, the Dutch imposed that they will take rent from the people. And how will they take rent for those from those people for cultivating in the forest land? What type of rent they will take? Let us see. After some time, they exempted some villages from this rent if they worked collectively to provide free labor and buffaloes for cutting and transporting timber. So they what they have done, they have accepted, है ना, they have यानी उन्होंने माफ कर दिया to some villages from the rent. They are not going to, they will not have to pay the rent, but on the other hand, they will have to work for them. They will have to provide free labor. They will have to provide their buffaloes for cutting or for transport purpose, for cutting down the timbers. They will have to cut down the timbers. They have to make the sleepers for the Dutch people. That's why they have exempted some villages from this rent. And this type of management that they were doing, this was known as Blandongenstein system. Blandongen system. Remember, try to remember the spelling as well. And a Blandongenstein system. Later, instead of rent exemption, forest villagers were given small wages. And later on, when the people asked for some wages also, how will they eat, and how will they manage to earn their livelihood? So they realize, the Dutch people realize, yes, we need to pay them something, some amount also. So then they started giving some small wages also, but they have they have started taking rent from them. And instead of that, and instead of rent exemption, they started taking small wages. They started, forest villages were given small wages, small payment, but their right to cultivate forest land was still restricted. They cannot cultivate in the forest land, and those who will cultivate, they will have to pay rent. Those who will not pay rent, they will have to work for them at free of cost. Uh, and even they have started paying the villagers a few small wages that was quite small. Similarities between colonial management of the forest in Bastar and in Java. That is a very favorite question, a very famous question which comes in your exam time and time again. And what are the similarities between Java and Bastar? Let us see. In India, the forest department, they used to cut trees freely. The forest department, to meet what British war needs. The British needed to strengthen their navy, as well as timber was needed to build warships. And this was the need of the Britishers in India. They were needing forests. They were cutting down the trees, to make their ships or to make railways. While in Java, the Dutch enforced a scorched earth policy. Now, the Dutch people enforced, means they started implementing a scorched earth policy. That is like burning, a scorched earth policy. They destroyed sawmills and burnt huge piles of giant teak logs, so that the Japanese who could not get it during the war. So the Dutch people were in war. They were in war with the Japanese people. They were trying to attack the Dutch people, and they were trying to take Java under their control. The Japanese people, they were trying. The Japanese force, they were trying to take Java, Indonesia, Java, under their control from the Dutch people. So there was a war between Japanese people, Japanese government, and the Dutch people. So what the Dutch people, the Dutch government they started burning down those sawmills, so that that those sawmills cannot be used by the Japanese people, Japanese government. So they started burning down those sawmills. Sawmills, those are mills for cutting down the trees, and for cutting down the trees or making sleepers from the trees. They are the sawmills. Both of the management banned grazing. This is also one of the similarity. Both of the management banned grazing. Both wanted timber for ships and railways. Both the management wanted timber. Both introduced forest service and forest laws. The villagers were restricted from entering the forest at both the time, you can see, and those who opposed the ban were severely punished, like they were also doing whipping the people. So here also they were punishing the people who were entering in the forest without permission. The rebellions at Bastar and Java were crushed by the colonial management with the help of army. That is also similar over here in India. Also, the Britishers crushed the revolt with the help of the army, and in Java also the same thing has been repeated. The plight, matlab Durdasha, the plight of the forest villages in Java was very much the same as the people of Bastar. Both were struggling, both were crushed by the Britishers, and in here by the Dutch people. Now, what we have to go through Samin's challenge. So let me pause the recording for a few seconds. Around 1890, Sorontiko Samin of that special name of the village is there, Randu Blatang. And Randu Blatang was the name of the village in Java. Surantuka Samin, a teak forest village. This was the name of the village. They began questioning regarding the Dutch ownership of the forest. Means these were the people, they started revolting. They started asking the question from the Dutch people, those who have colonized Indonesia. This village, the people of this village, Randu Blatang village, and this Surantuka Samin, was the people of that particular village, means community. The people of this village, they argued that the state had not created the wind, water, earth and wood, so it would not own it also. They were saying that the Dutch people have not created this wind, this water, this earth, and this forest, the wood in the forest. Then how can they say that it is their own property, it is their property? So the people of this village, they are arguing by saying these are that these things, wind, water, earth or wood or the forest, they are natural, so how can these Dutch people say that it is their property? And soon a widespread movement spread out and developed, and among those who helped organize it were Samin's sons-in-law. So those who helped to organize this movement, they were the Samin's son-in-law. So this Surontiko Samin, it is the name of the person, and the son-in-law of that person started this movement or organizing this movement. He was helping. By 1907, 3,000 families were following his ideas, and Samin's ideas were being followed. Let us see what were his ideas. Some of the Saminist protested by lying down on their land when the Dutch came to survey it. So when the Dutch people were coming to survey the land which were owned by this village, so the people of the Randu Blatang village, they lie down in the open, they lie down in on the ground. है ना, वो लोग लेट जाते थे, सो जाते थे ग्राउंड पे, और ये कहते थे कि we will not help you to survey, we will not let you to survey our field, our land, while others refused to pay taxes or fines or perform free labor. So there were different method of protesting in that village. Someone were lying down, someone were refusing to pay the taxes, and someone were refusing to pay the fine to the government, and even someone were refusing to perform free labor also. So these were the ideas of Samin's son-in-law, and 3,000 families were helping him also. Now I think that is going to be the end of the chapter, that is impact of war on forest. Next topic. Yes, always there is a great impact of war on forest, because at that time a lot of wood was needed to build ships, you know, to build railways. So it will have a very, you can say, close impact on forests. In India, working plans were abundant at this time. Let us see. That is good thing, you know, that the forest management is stopped at that time during the war, and the forest department cut trees freely to meet British war needs. And what the forest department was doing in India from the British side, they were cutting down the freely trees freely. Means they have stopped forest management. Oh, no, before they were cutting down the forest and they were just planting the trees as well. But now they were only cutting the trees during the time of war. First World War was there in 1914 to 14 to 18. In Java, just before the Japanese occupied the region, the Dutch also followed this policy. Means they were destroying sawmills. No, no, this was again, you can see that is the impact of war, no, no, on forest. There was a war between Japanese people and the Dutch, and what the Dutch people were doing, they were destroying the sawmills. They were burning huge piles of giant teak. They were burning the logs, no, no, they were burning the trees, so that they would not fall into the Japanese hand, जापानीज के हाथ में ना आ जाए, इसलिए वो क्या कर रहे थे, logs, stick logs, even trees, they were just burning. So that is against, you can see again, you can see that is the loss in the forest, loss of the forest. And when Japanese occupied Indonesia, when they were there in Indonesia, they also exploited the forest recklessly for their own war industries, forcing forest villagers to cut down forest. The same thing happened even after Dutch people in Indonesia. The Japanese were doing the same thing. Many villagers used this opportunity to expand cultivation in the forest. So now they were saying the forests were clearing. You know, the Japanese government are clearing the forest, cutting down the forest. So there was vacant land. You know, so villagers, what they will do? They started cultivating. They started agriculture work in those lands. So they got this. They thought this, that it is an opportunity for them. If there are no forests, then they will have to grow crops for them. They will have to grow things for them so that they can eat. So they started. They got this opportunity. They started cultivating. Let us talk about the new developments in forestry. Small topics are there. Just let us cover them. Conservation of forest rather than collecting timber has become an important goal now for both the government, Indian government, the Britishers, those who were there, even the Japanese or the Dutch who were in Java. They thought of conserving the forest, you know, that they realized that the forest will vanish in few years. So the government recognized that if they want to meet their goal, if they want to meet their demand, the people who live near the forest must be involved. They thought that, okay, we should take the help of the people who are living nearby the forest. So in many cases across India, that is from Mizoram to Kerala, dense forests have survived only because villages protected them in sacred groups known as Sarnas. They were Kudu, Kan, Rai, etc., etc. So from Mizoram to Kerala, people were helping. They were they helped the forest to survive by just they call this forest by with the sacred names, and they thought that it is natural, and they should not cut down the trees, they should not cut down the forest. So from Mizoram to Kerala, these forests have survived only because of the villagers, and the government involved them also. Some village the people of some villages, they started patrolling, means they started guarding the forest, with each household taking it in turns. And suppose on Monday, family number A will do the patrolling, means they will guard the forest. Then on the second day, family number B will do, or together A B C D family, four families will do patrolling on Monday. On EFGH they will do patrolling means they will just roam around the forest to control, to guard the forest. Instead of leaving it to the forest guards, they have not left it on the hand of the forest guard, that they will only do the patrolling. They have taken this step from their own self also. the villages which were there in Mizoram and Kerala, from Mizoram to Kerala. Local forest communities, even environmentalists today, are thinking of different forms of forest management. So people still are thinking of how can they really conserve the forests for their future use also. So very many forest communities and even environmentalists, they are thinking and planning of new ways so that they can conserve forest and do the forest management. That's all in this chapter. More when we meet in grade 10, my dear students, because that is the end of the chapter, history chapter in class 9. So we will meet again in our next class, maybe a few topics from 9 also. Many thanks to all the learners for cooperating me and listening me in the class. May Allah bless you all. That is all in this chapter. That is the end of the chapter, my dear students. Stay at home and stay safe, my dear students. May Allah bless you all. And one more thing I would like to tell over here,